Okay, so here we have different examples. I think we were copying this because here we have this shape to connect two boards, but we were copying the easiest one. This one with the board, the plywood board, water or vapor barrier, thermal insulation, a waterproof barrier, and zinc on it. Okay. So here in the Revit file, we had the board. We didn't assign a material to this. Remember that if we have created those elements with the component model in place, we have to select this. No, not check. Edit in place, then select it again. And here we can change the material. So here, if we change the material, we can use plywood by default. Okay, and there you go. We have this material here. And this, did we assign a material to this thing? I don't think so. Let's edit in place. Material, yeah, we don't have anything here. And what's that? We can use this roofing EPDM membrane. It's something like, yeah, black. Okay, so it's when we are dealing with this EPDM membrane. EPDM is a polymer, and it's something that we usually have in roofs for waterproofing. Okay, so we have rolls of this black sticky stuff, and then we apply this either indoors or outdoors. Okay, but it's something that it's waterproofing, or it can be considered a vapor barrier. It depends, but well, it's something like that. Okay, so we apply this kind of waterproofing layers, and well, here we have different details, but that's what the EPDM is. It's something that it's blackish or dark gray, and it protects the building against water, basically. Okay. For the thermal insulation, what's the default? If we want a yellowish thing, by default, the rigid insulation, if we edit in place, select it again, and then we look at the material, by default, the Revit insulation has this color. If we want to change it, we can go to appearance, and we can change the color here to something yellowish. Okay, and now we have this yellow stuff. Usually we have thermal insulation. It's always usually it's yellowish. So if you see all the thermal insulating materials here, they have this yellow color. We have different textures. For example, here we will have glass wool, but here we have rigid. This looks like rigid insulation, but that comes with the specifications. Okay, so here you see that we have rigid insulation, but in other details like this one, this is the vapor control layer with wood rafters and according to the plan specifications. Well, I don't see, but this is not. This is the typical glass wool. It's not the rigid insulation. It's not rigid insulation. So then we will copy this detail, and because this is a vented roof, and we will assign other textures or other colors to this. Okay. So, but this is good enough. We can try here graphic display options, and let's see if we can show ambient shadows. And yeah, with ambient shadows you can get this. Okay, so that's the difference between if we don't have ambient shadows, we have like plain colors. If we have ambient shadows, we create this effect. It's nicer. If we cast shadows, then well, it doesn't make any sense casting shadows in details, so don't do that. But with ambient shadows, it can work well. Okay, so this is it. We have all the layers except this one, the thing, that's the finish. Okay, and look at this. That's the detail. So if we zoom in, that's the zinc detail. You see that those are very thin. So the thickness of this thin layer, it might be what, 1/16 of an inch, something very thin, and it's folded that way so that it's impossible for the water to penetrate here. It's impossible, okay, because we have this folded detail, and they are overlapping like this, so they don't move, and the water can go through the zinc. The zinc, it's something metallic. It's the water can go through the zinc. So the weak point are the joints. So those joints with this kind of detail. So it's impossible. Okay, and then we have this element. I think we can see this here. Well, we don't have a good resolution, but you see that we have an element that is nailed. So we have this blue nail, and that goes up to the board here. Okay, so this is to fix the zinc layer. Okay, we're not going to do this, but at least I'll show you how to do this zinc layer, that detail, with this detail here. Okay. So basically what we have in this detail is one of the zinc layers. It's like this, then it goes up, then we fold it like this. Okay. And the second zinc or zinc layer is like that. Okay. So this is what we have. They are folded and they are connected that way. There are different ways to do this. So let's try one option, and if it doesn't work well, then we will try a different option. First, on the level. Okay, so this is very small because it's not a building. We are working with details. I think I can use in the front view. I'm working in the 3D view, front, and I want to, we can go to architecture modeling place, but in this case, I'm going to use roof by extrusion. Okay, so I'm going to use roof by extrusion. I'm going to pick a plane. So I pick this plane. You see that if I hover the mouse, you can highlight the plane of the thermal insulation. So I'm going to use this plane. Click here on level 1. Okay, and now I'm going to draw lines. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line here and there. So I'm doing now the green one. So I go this way, and this way. Okay, so I have created that line. I have to assign a thickness to this basic roof. If we click now here, whoop, that's what we get, okay? Because it has 12 inches. So I don't want this. before, well, I can, okay, let's click this here and now change this roof type. Okay, so if we edit type and we duplicate this view and type here zinc roof, the structure, the thickness, it's not 1 foot, it has to be 1/16, something very thin. And this material, we don't have zinc. We don't, oh, we do have, okay. So we can select one of these materials, zinc, and rigid insulation. What the hell is that? Okay. And now we have something very thin, 1/16 inches, made of zinc, and apply. There you go. Maybe 1/16 is too thin. So let's edit type and make it 1/8. Okay, that works. And what in the 3D view? So in the 3D view, it's here, and we can move it to the right place. Okay, so let's move it here. And now I see this element like this. Probably I need to make that space narrower. So I'm going to edit the profile. So if I edit the profile and I move it this way, probably it will look better. And even narrower. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Now the level. Okay, because it has to be here, so I'm going to move it down because it's resting on this waterproof layer here. Okay, so that's it. And now I need the second zinc layer, so it's going to be something like that. Okay, so now I'm going to draw the red one. So for the red one is if I go to the front view, then I go to architecture, roof by extrusion. I pick a plane. Now I'm going to pick the same plane. Okay, I'm going to pick the plane of not the thermal insulation directly. I'm going to pick that plane here. Okay, and now I just have to move it or to draw this. If it doesn't fit perfectly, then I can edit the shape. Like that. And now I click OK. And can't make extrusion. Okay, good. Why not? Does it work for you or? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I probably the distance is not good enough. I'm going to try again. Can't make extrusion. Move it here. Okay, let me try again. So I go roof by extrusion, pick plane. I'm going to pick this one. Okay. Oh, because I'm working with the generic roof this, and I want to work with the zinc roof. Okay, that was the issue. So now I can do this. There you go. Okay, it's nicer if it were centered. It would be nicer, so I can edit the profile. I can move it here and that one here. No, too much. Okay, now it works. And if I rotate this, then I can move it here and there. Okay. You get this? Good. So that's the zinc. As you can see, we haven't signed this material, but this happens. So I'm not very happy with this texture. So I'm going to come here, edit type, and I'm going to select the material, zinc, and I'm going to see the appearance. So we have that. And reference pattern. Yeah, so here we have different materials. Okay, but this is what they have for zinc. We can. Okay, so let's leave it that way because I think it works well. We have something metallic. I would like to be a little clearer because it looks like too dark, but anyway. So that's it. So that would be the first detail. And if I want to make this, okay, so with this one, I think I have to edit the profile. And I want to make this line shorter here. There you go. Okay, I think it's good enough. And we have all layers. We have the board, vapor barrier, thermal insulation, plywood, water barrier, and zinc. Okay. This is, if we look at that detail, 6 is a rafter zone. Okay, so here, there will be a rafter here. Well, we don't have this. We will do this, but in the 2D. So you see that here we have the nails that go from this element here up to the board. It's this blue nail. We're not going to do it in the 3D, but we will do it in 2D in this detail. And here we have the rafter zone. So we can type rafter zone, or we can create an actual rafter. So if we go to a component model in place, that will be structural framing. Okay, structural framing. I can create a rafter by extrusion. What is the size of a rafter by default? Taylor, you should know it. You don't remember what we did in 260 long time ago, a couple of months ago? I mean, there are different, but the standard rafter, it's something that it's 2 inches by 6 inches. It can be different, but and I think in the bench wood detail that we're going to do, it's going to be different, but by default, we can have the 2 by 6. So here we have to set the work plane. I can pick a plane, this one, the board. And now I can type or I can draw a rectangle, 2 inches. Well, that's interesting because if I make it 2 inches, okay, let's do it. 2 inches by 6. It's something. I don't think I did it to scale. I don't remember if this was to. I don't remember the. So I'm going to look at the align. This is 1 foot. Yeah, I don't think it's to scale. 1 foot for thermal insulation. It's too much. Well, it's not that much. Okay, so that might be the size of the rafter, but we need many of them. So I select this. I have to move it in this direction. Like this. And now this rafter, I have to assign a material. So if I click here, edit in place, select it again, material, and I have wood here. Okay, let's select wood. And now we have this rafter made of wood. And now we have the distance between rafters. I'm not going to ask you again, but the distance between rafters, usually it's like 16 inches. Okay, so I'm going to copy this 16 inches away. But yeah, I'm going to copy 16 and 16. So this is the first one. And I think I can copy another one. 16 inches. What? Oh, I did 16 feet. 16 inches. Okay. So now that will be the detail. So we have rafters, 2 by 6, 16 inches. And here we have all the, yeah, so it looks like weird because we need the amount of thermal insulation that we need, it's much bigger than the rafter itself. So that's the structural element. So yeah, so the rafter is like 6 inches, the width or the height of the rafter is 6 inches. And here we are using 1 foot or 12 inches of thermal insulation, and it can be more. Okay, so that's I think the proportion is correct here. So this is it. So here we have the rafters and the board, then vapor barrier, thermal insulation, another board there, water barrier and zinc, So that's a very good detail. And but now I want to create the 2D section, this one, okay? Because and then we will place those numbers and we will just copy all this text because that's the when I've told you before, when we're working with details, we don't have to make up a detail every time we do something. We just copy. Okay, so we can in companies, they are always using the same details because they save a lot of time and they have a high quality detail if they have a good one. So why change it in every project? No, you have a catalog of details and you say, okay, so this roof, that detail. And that's how it works. So if we have a good one, we can use it many times. So let's do it. In this, we have to work as a section. And we are going to work with the detail components that we did last week. We started using detail components as a 2D element. So we're not going to work in a 3D. So we're going to work in 2D. We can have a section and then we can start creating parts and assigning materials. But I think this is very simple and it will take less time if we start working as a 2D directly. And we can, this is an excuse to learn how to do the different line types in Revit and assign different thickness. Okay, so it's just an excuse to learn how to do that. So that's the first 3D detail. And now on the east elevation, we can work like this on the east elevation because all the layers are here. Or we can go to the south. Yeah, because in that detail, we have this element there. Okay, so I'm going to use this as a reference, but I'm going to work with details. So in annotate, okay, I'm going to create different rectangles with regions. You see that we have here regions, a field region, and now I can trace this rectangle like this. And now I move it. Click OK. But now I want to move this rectangle here. Okay, then you see that here, when we're working in a section, in a detail, we don't have the actual thickness of membranes. We have just a different line type. Okay, so here there is a gap, and I will create a line type here for the vapor barrier. So the next one, I'm going to copy this rectangle here. I leave a gap for the vapor barrier, so it doesn't matter that gap. And now I go up like this. Okay, so I'm not taking accurate measurements, but that will be the thermal insulation. Then what I have next is another board like this one. So I can copy the same board in the south elevation. I can copy the same board here. Okay. And now I have another membrane, this waterproof barrier, this one. Okay, so I'm not going to do this. It's another membrane. And finally, I have the zinc. So for the zinc, I think I can copy this, or I can make it again. Okay, I'll do it again. So for the zinc layer, I'm going to use another field region, and I'm going to start here, and then there, and there, there, and there. But I'm going to make it a little more appealing, and I'm going to use a fillet, okay? Because in this, we see how we don't have, well, we have these nice curves. Okay, so I'm going to create the curves there. So I can use fillet, this option here. And if I select this one and that one, here I have the curve. And the only thing I have to make sure is that this curve, it's always the same. This is 49 divided by 128. So this can be say a number that I can remember, 0.5. Or 1/2. Okay, 1/2 works. Okay, so that fillet works. And now I need another one, this one and this one. I type here 1/2. Line's too short. Okay, so I'm going to make this way, and that fillet I can type now 1/2. Yeah. Okay, if the lines might be in closed loops. Okay, no problem. What happens is when we have a fillet, if we have two lines here, and I want the fillets in the radius, because this is just a circle, and the radius is 1, okay, or 1 than here. If these two lines are too close to each other, I can have another 1/2 here, because these two lines are too, so this line is too short now. So I have to move this line here, so that at least there's another 1/2 radius that we can do these words. Okay, so sometimes when you have something like that, and you want to fill it, if you have circles like this, it works. Because that radius is smaller than 1/2 is length. Okay. Anyway, if line's too short, what you have to do is to separate these two lines, and then you can have the fillet. Perfect. Okay, good. And now we can do the same thing here, because every single connection, it's a circle, so that would be 1/2. And that's it. That's all we need. But now, this is not what I did before. It was a roof by extrusion, so I only needed the shape, and then I applied the extrusion with the right thickness, and it worked. Here, if I'm working with this, I have to create an offset. Okay, so I have to type, not type. I have to select offset, this one, and 1/4 is enough. Okay, let's try this 1/4 of an inch, and apparently it works well. Okay, so we have this nice shape. It doesn't work because I have to close it. So I have to close this gap here. And now I have to close that gap here. And now I can click OK, and it works. Okay, so we have a detail that looks like this one. Okay. And now I have to create the other one in the other direction. So to create the other one in the other direction, I'm going to create another field region. I need this reference, this midpoint here, and then I'll go that way there. And I don't know that distance yet. So what is this thickness? It was 1/4. Okay, so if this is 1/4, I need an offset. And that offset is 1/8 in this direction and 1/8 in the other direction. Okay, so now this is centered. I can stop this here, and now I can trim. Okay, and now because we're going to show this at a big scale, so if everything is centered and the distances are the same, in the 3D view, it doesn't matter, because in the 3D view, nobody will notice that. But in the 2D detail, I think it's worth having this with the right distance. So I'm going to select these two. I'm going to mirror using this as a mirror axis. And now we have the same distance between this and this and this and this. Okay, so that looks good. And now I have to mirror, or I have to create the same shape that I have here. And what is that distance? Let me find out. No. Mine. Three-eighths. Okay. So that distance is 3/8. So I want to do the same. I want the line, and that has to be 3/8. 3/8. And now move it here. Okay, so I want this distance to be the same as that distance here. So I can keep working with a line in this direction, and now I need the fillet. So if I remember, the fillet was 1/8. I think so. So I fillet this. I type, or 1/2. I think it was 1/2. No, it wasn't. Well, it has to be the same fillet. I'll find out later, but so far 1/4 works. Okay, so let's use 1/4. I think it was 1/4. So then another fillet, this one and this one, 1/4. Okay, continue. Yeah, I can't close this yet. So that looks good. The fillets are the same. This distance is the same as this distance. These distances are the same. Okay, good. And now I don't need that one. And I can keep offsetting things. So I'm going to delete this and that. And now the offset, it's 1/8. No, it's 1/4. This direction. Okay, so that's a nice curve here with the same distances. So everything looks good. And now I need the same. I have to continue that curve in this direction. Okay, so I'm going to copy this line here because I want the same distance there. And I'm going to do this. And now I need that fillet. That is 1/4. Okay. So fillet, this one and this one. 1/4. And now I'm going to mirror this fillet, this line, using this axis. There you go. And now I'm going to extend this line here. And I can offset 1/4, and I keep doing this. Okay, and now I continue this. And okay, so now I have to continue up to that point. So I can keep working with lines like this. And I need a fillet, this one and that one. The fillet is 1/4. Now the offset. And extend this line here. And now we can finish this here with a trim. Trim. And trim. Okay, I think I'm good. And now I can delete all these auxiliary lines that I have created and click OK. Yeah. Okay, so that looks better than the random shape that we did here. Okay, so here it looks like, it doesn't matter because if we look at the 3D view, we're going to look at an angle like this. So nobody will notice that these distances are not the same, whatever. But if we are in a south elevation or if we are in a section, so this has to be that way. It's not exactly, I like this better, yeah. Oh, and I like this better because, okay. So I'm going to edit boundary. So if I edit boundary, now because I didn't do that shape here. So I need another fillet. 1/4. Okay, and now offsets. Even this one, I don't like it. So I'm going to fillet this and this. 1/4. And now I'm going to offset. Interesting. I can't offset this one. But I can offset this. Yep. Okay, so that looks good. The thing is that if this fillet is 1/4, then I cannot offset. So I have to make this slightly, the radius, it has to be slightly larger. So I'm going to fillet and I'm going to make it this and this. I'm going to make it 1/2. And now I think I can offset is 1/4. Okay, that looks good. And I can move it here. Okay, that looks better. I click OK, and that's the shape that we have now, because that shape is more like this one. Okay, because we need, and we have this gap because we need this element here. Okay, so we need to include this element here, so that's why we need that tilt. There you go. Okay. So that's the south elevation. I'm going to move it here. Let's move it. And I can make the rafters. So again, annotate field region, and I'm going to draw a 6-inch by 2-inch rafter here. And now I'm going to copy this guy 16 inches away and 16 inches. Okay. 16. And sketch is empty. Continue. And I'm going to move it all this up to the midpoint. Yeah, if everything is centered, it will look much nicer. The rafters, the board, here I don't have a material because I have a gap, because I will use line types, thermal insulation, then another gap for the water barrier, and then the zinc here. But we can use different hatches. We know how to do that, okay? So if we come here, we select this, override graphics in view by element, and then the surface pattern, the foreground, I don't want anything, and the background is gonna be a solid material, yellow, because this is the thermal insulation. Okay, so that's the thermal insulation. That's the board. So what kind of, we can override graphics in view by element. So here I'm going to use foreground and the background. So for the foreground material, I think something, we have wood here. Wood 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to use wood number 2 as a foreground, and as a background, I'm going to use a solid fill, and the color, it has to be something like this wooden color. There you go. What's wrong with this? That the hatch is very, I have to reduce the hatch scale. Can we do that? Yes. So we can go to override graphics in view by element. And then here, this is the wood. I double click, and you see that here we have the scale. So I'm going to reduce the scale 0.25. Okay, so apparently it doesn't change. Okay, I don't know why. Anyway, let's continue. That's wood. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to select this, override graphics in view. The material, it's wood number 2. And the color, it was, okay. I don't remember the color I used, but I can always have an excuse that they are 2 different kinds of wood. Okay, and look at this. Now it has changed the scale of the pattern. Do you have 2 different scales here? I think it doesn't change immediately, but if you close the drawing and you open it again, you will have the right scale there. Okay, but if you change that scale, that works. Okay, we should have the same color. If we have here OSB board and plywood, we can have 2 different colors. But if it's the same wood, we should have the same. Okay, and this is another wood. So the wood for the structural rafters for sure is different than the wood for that one. Okay, so I can select all these, override by element. Material, I'm going to use wood 2 again, and the color, this can be slightly different because that's the structural element. So I'm going to make it a little darker. And it doesn't work. Okay, why? Oh, because override graphics in view by element, and the background, it should have changed. Oh, I didn't click on solid. So here we have like 3 different kinds of wood. The structural one, the board, can be plywood because this is the interior finish. This can be OSB board. And now we just need the membranes here. Okay, so when we have a waterproof barrier, or when we have a paper barrier, what we have is a dashed line . Like this. Okay, when we have yellow and the hatch that stands for thermal insulation, everybody understands that it's a thermal insulation. When we have a black dashed line like this, everybody understands that it's either a waterproof or a vapor barrier. Okay, how can we do it? So we can go to annotate. We can go to, oh, we can do this as well. Okay, so let's click on thermal insulation. But now I need to know the right, it's 1 foot. Okay, so if I go to annotate and click on thermal insulation, the width, it's 12 inches because it's 1 foot. And then if I do this, it doesn't work. It's to far side, no, to near side. Okay, so we can do this, and that's perfect because we have yellow and we have this hatch that stands for thermal insulation. Now, what about the dashed lines? I can work with detail lines. Okay, so remember that here we have regions with field regions, and then we can apply textures or colors to that field region. But in the detail line, we can work with different line types. Okay, so here we have hidden. So let's use these hidden lines. And let's try to, okay, this is an auxiliary line. And I'm going to, because I want the midpoint here, up to this point. And they are hidden, as you can see, or hidden. it means that this is not a continuous line. It's not great. This is not what I want. So I want probably to work with this hidden slightly better. Okay, but it doesn't have a thickness. Okay, so now does it have a thickness or okay? That's it. You remember that if you click here, we can have thin lines. With this, what we usually do, because we don't have a thickness, but if we have this, we can apply thickness to the lines. So that is terrible. Okay. And what I'm going to do is to select everything. I'm going to right click, override graphics in view. And no, because that's the by element. Okay, let's do this. Let's select, I'm going to do it again. Select this, override graphics in view, projection lines, and the weight, I'm going to select 1, which is the lightest weight. And if I apply now, it doesn't work well. No, it doesn't work. So we're going to have to do this, the thin line. And I'm going to try something different for this dashed line. So what we can do is to create then another region. And we can use like 6 inches and 1/4, like this. And now for this one, I can override graphics in view. And the surface, I can create a solid fill black. There you go. And now I can copy this one 1 foot away. Like this. And as you can see, I have to, if I copy that hatch, doesn't work. So I have to select them again. I have to override graphics in view by element, and I have to solid fill and black and apply. Okay. And okay. We are splitting hairs here, but we are making this better because I want to center that line on the gap. So I select all these rectangles and I move it and I can center them. No, sorry. I move it again. Okay, so I can center those rectangles here. And that's everybody understands that there's a vapor barrier here or a waterproof layer or something. Then we need a text to specify that. There is a way to do this with lines, but I have to figure it out because usually changing the thickness, it works, but it wasn't working here. Okay. So now I need the same there. Those are different materials because one of the lines is a vapor barrier, the other one is a waterproofing, but the hatch can be the same. So I can copy here. Oh, I have to do it again. Okay. So that's good. Finally, for the zinc, I think there's a hatch here, but for the zinc, I think I'm going to use, I select both. I'm going to use the, not line, but color, grayish color. Okay, that looks good. Okay, what's the good thing? Yeah, it takes a lot of time, I know. But the good thing is that once you have that detail and it works, you can use that detail everywhere. Okay, so you don't have to do it again. And I recommend you don't do it again. So just work with the library of your details that are good, that you know that work, and then apply those details to all the projects, all the similar projects that you are doing. If you are doing a roof with rafters 2x6, and the distance and rafters is 16, which is the standard distance. And then we need a good R value with 1 foot of thermal insulation. So go ahead. That's the detail that you have to, create. But the goal is to prepare something like this. I like our detail more. Oh, here we have, let's try this thing here. Okay, what's that? If we look at this, you see that this is a metallic element, and then here we have a nail, and this is there. Okay, so let's try to do this here, and just trace the region, field region. And we can pick the existing lines. So we can pick this and this and this. And now we can offset. I think the offset was 1/4. Okay, we can do this and this and this. Now we can close it. And we can go all the way down. Okay, so it's just an L shape. So we will do an L shape. Here. And I don't think they even have a fillet here. So we can do that, another offset, 1/4 down. We can trim this. And then the length, well, it depends. We can stop this around here with another trim like this. Okay. For this one, we will need another color. So we can use another solid fill. And we can make it gray but darker. Okay, And finally, we need the nail. Okay, so this element, it's like holding the zinc so that it doesn't move, but it's nailed to the, yeah, I think that nails goes up even to the rafter. Okay, so it goes through the board, so we should have a rafter there. So I think it's the right place because we have a rafter. And what's this? Just a nail. So with this one, we can use a detail line that is hidden. Copy like this. Let me see if I can overwrite the line here. Okay, here I have more options. But none of them work. Well, for some reason, the line types don't work today. I'll figure it out. But anyway, this should be a hidden line, but it doesn't work. I override graphics in view by element. The pattern, I have a lot of options here, but they don't reflect here the line type. Okay, I'll figure it out. But so far, this is what that's what we need. So now we have to prepare this specification sheet. So I'm going to have like the detail here, and then the 3D detail here, the 2D detail here with numbers, and I'm going to have this text here. If this is an 11 by 8.5 sheet, it's for a catalog. I'm going to, here we have sheets and we have temporary schedules. What the hell is that? I don't know. Substructure, terrible, and superstructure, horrible. Okay, so let's get rid of all these. I'm going to create a new one. So by default, we have this 30 by 44. I click OK, but now I want to change it. Double click, and let's get rid of all these Revit default blocks. And I want 11 by 8.5. So if I click here, this is 2 feet and 6 inches, and I want this 11 inches. And I want the other dimension 8.5 inches. Okay, so this is a letter size. I load into the project, override the existing version, and this is it. Okay, so this is the sheet that I'm going to use, and then I'm going to drag the details here because at the end I want something like that. Okay, so I want a column with text, and then I want a detail here, these advantages, okay, and then these two detail there. So let's do it. On the 3D detail, I have to select a nice view, this one, And now I have to show a crop region. Here. So the crop region is huge. So let's make it narrower and let's focus on this. Because when we drag the drawing to the sheet, the crop region is what we see. Okay. So we only see the drawing that it's within the crop region. I don't want to see the crop region, so I hide it. And now we have that scale. Probably we'll have to change the scale, but I don't know yet. So let's go to the sheet itself. Let's go to the 3D view. And yes, it's too small. Can I change the scale here? Yes, I can. So let's say 1/2. Still too small. 1. Okay, so that works. And this, I can get rid of it, but I can put it out of the sheet. Okay, so because I don't want this title block here. Okay, so that's good. And now I need the 2D. It was in the south elevation. So again, I need to hide, or I need to show the crop region. Okay, so now I have to adjust the crop region to the detail that I'm showing. Then I have to probably change the scale. I think the other one was 1 foot. Let's see. And oh, look at this. It was the, okay, that's interesting. Okay, it was the scale. When the scale is too small, we don't see the line types. Okay, but when the scale it's like this, we do see the line type. Okay, so let's do it again. What kind of line type is this one? Aligning line. Okay, so that one has to be the same. Okay, so that's important. So the scale matters when we have to see the line types. Okay, so now I go to the sheet again. I drag south elevation and perfect. I want to get rid of this, so I hide the crop region. So here I don't have the crop region. I move this out. Okay, so that's getting better. And now, okay, so look at this with the scale. We have even those. So we change the scale of this texture here. By the way, I don't like this at all. So I'm going to change it. Override graphics in view by element. And this would too. Okay, so probably this works in boards, but doesn't work in a solid element. So that's slightly better. Oh, and now here we can start writing text. Okay. So how many numbers do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't like this, by the way. Okay, so here I told you that it's important, at least to me, that all these lines are parallel. So I don't like this. I think I'm going to make it better. So let's go to annotate. Let's go to text. And we start from the first one. No, sorry. I need this one segment, can be enough. And that's number 1. Okay. And now I think I'm going to copy all these. But, well, I can understand why these guys are having trouble with parallel lines. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to extend this line here so that lines are parallel and they point at different things. So that would be number 2, by the way. Then number 3 is the board. Okay. I'm going to change this number 4. I'm going to move this to the board. This is number 3. What? Number 3. This is the waterproof layer. So that would be number 2. And if I copy, that's the zinc layer, number 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is the thermal insulation. 5 is the vapor barrier. And 6 is the board. Bye. Down. Okay, 1 is the zinc, 2 is the vapor, is the waterproof layer, 3 the wood board, 4 thermal insulation, 5 vapor barrier, 6 board. Okay. If we think that this text is a little larger, so the text size, I can move it to 1/6. Maybe that's better. Or 1/8. Yeah, I think if the text is smaller, like this. Okay, so are we done? No, not yet, because here we have text, and we can just, we have this with the arrow, or we can just write a paragraph. Okay, so I can start a paragraph here. And I can copy all this. if you go here, roof buildup, I can copy all this text here. And I think I can move all these. Okay, so nice. It takes time, but I think it's worth it. Okay, so if you prepare sheets like this for every single project, you only have to, when you are preparing the document, all the documentation for the project, you have the drawings, and then you only have to put in the drawing C detail 5 or 6 or whatever. But now you have here everything that matters. You have here the 3D view with all the layers. Here you have the 2D detail with all the materials. And well, here you have all the materials that we need. Okay. So what do I want you to do? You have to, well, I have done this. So you have to submit at least 2 details. Here we have an unvented roof, and one of those are vented roofs. Okay, what is a vented roof? You see that there is a gap between the thermal insulation and the board. We have this element, number 4. It's a timber battens for ventilation space, high subjected to roof pitch. Okay, so the height can be different, but we need this. And why do we have this? Well, I explained in 360 that there are 2 different thinking or 2 different kind of professionals. Some of them, they think that vented roofs are better, and some of them think that unvented roofs are better. With the unvented roof, what we try is that water doesn't get to the thermal insulation, to this board and to the thermal insulation. So that's our goal. Water doesn't go through the zinc layer or through the waterproof layer. It's impossible. And if it happens, it's a mess. The guys that are in favor of the vented roofs, they assume that some water are going to go through are going to leak through this. But by having this vented roof, the water will dry out eventually. So probably they reinforced because if the thermal insulation gets wet, it will be like it can't happen. So they reinforce this layer, this red layer for the waterproof. They have this vented roof, so it's vented means that the water is there, the water leaks, the air ventilating that air chamber will dry out the water. So they don't mind if water can leak through this first zinc barrier or because they rely on this red element as the most important element when it comes to waterproofing. And they say, okay, the water can leak, the water can stay here. This is waterproofing, so it doesn't affect the thermal insulation. And little by little, the water will dry out. When it stops raining, there will be air moving through that air chamber, and then the water will dry. Okay, so those are 2 different, so there are people in favor of this, and there are people in favor of that. I don't know. This is running a risk that I don't think it's necessary. But again, I wouldn't do, or probably I would do both. Okay, so I will try a ventilated chamber just in case, or probably that's why they do it. They try this just in case. But I agree that what you have to do is to prevent water from entering, from leaking here. So the water cannot touch this first board. But just in case, if that happens, it might be good having a vented roof here to dry out. Okay, it makes sense. So I want you to, well, we have already done this one. Okay, so there are different options. So we have done an unvented roof. So by next Tuesday, I want you to work with a vented roof. So basically you have to do the same. You have to do the 3D detail, the 2D, the specifications here. Most of the things are the same. Okay, so you have this sheet with all these elements, the thermal insulation, the waterproof elements, the zinc detail is the same. But you have to add these elements. Okay, so you can use the same thermal insulation. Well, here we have different options, as you can see. Well, in all the vented roofs, the rafters are here. Okay, in the option that we have done, the rafters are underneath the roof. Well, so probably you have to change that. But all these details, the scene is the same thing that we have done before. Okay, so you can copy some of the details that we have already done, but you have to add the rafters here embedded in the thermal insulation layer. And then we need these two, these are not rafters, these are buttons for ventilation space. Okay, but this board is the same. The waterproof layer here is the same. The zinc detail is the same. So you have to change only a few things in the 2D detail and something on this detail too. So you have to add this and probably these buttons and the waterproof layer above the thermal insulation here. Okay, so that's what you have to do this weekend. So I will open an assignment and you have to prepare 2 sheets. So here we can name this unvented roof. And I need another sheet of a vented roof. And well, this is what I want. I want this text. You can keep copying text here with the characteristics, the structure, and the ventilated roof build up, blah, blah, blah. But or you can even have a text here, a title for that sheet. But what I need is the 3D detail, the 2D detail, and all these elements there. So we're going to do this with roofs. And next week, we are going to work with the tectonics details. So those details for walls, but I think we can make it better and probably we can sell our work to Benson Wood to see if they pay something for those. Because, okay, that's fine. This is the 2D detail, but I think if we do the 3D, they will be happy for walls and for roofs. And then we will end up doing this. So next week we are going to work on wood, and on Tuesday we will prepare details for walls and roofs, Benson Wood walls and roofs, and on Friday we will start doing this.